Okay, so before I start this review of Attack on Titan chapter 99, I just want to point out that yet again, for like the 12th time in this arc, we got another mention of Annie, which basically all these mentions of her have been kind of like subtle foreshadows to the fact that she's coming back later on in the series. And this time it wasn't even subtle. This time it was literally her own dad looking at the camera and saying, "Hey, Annie's still alive. She's coming back. Get ready for her. Our girl's coming back." Like, it's not even subtle at this point. It's basically the writer saying that, "Hey, I hear you guys. You want Annie back? Well, here you go. She's coming back. Just get ready for her." Okay, so yeah, in this chapter we got the meeting between Reiner and Eren finally in this chapter, and I'll be honest, I don't know what I was expecting from the meeting exactly, but it definitely wasn't what happened in this chapter. It definitely was not. I did not expect anything that happened in this chapter to have happened. So basically, the meeting starts off. Reiner sees Eren. He's freaking out. He's like, "How the fuck are you here?" And before he can even ask that, Aaron's like, "Hey, you see this hand? You see this cut? Yeah, sit down, because right above us are a whole bunch of civilians. Because we're in the base. They're talking in the basement of a heavily populated area that's like basically just full of people, just like watching the parade, watching the festival go on. That's going on outside." And Aaron basically trying to say, "If you make a move, if you do anything that I don't like, I'm gonna transform and I'm gonna kill everyone. I'm gonna kill everyone when I do it. All those civilians, all those people that you know you want to protect. I'm just gonna kill them. Like I won't even attack them. Just me transforming alone will kill all these people. So sit down, shut up, and let's have a little nice chat." I say have a nice chat, but really, Reiner doesn't say shit in the chapter. He asks like one question, and then tries to ask a second one, and Aaron kind of cuts him off, and he basically just sits there with his hands in his head the entire time. Like he's just literally like, for pretty much the entire chapter. In fact, Falco asks more questions than he does. Which, by the way, I thought up until this chapter that Falco was kind of in on it. Like last chapter, I thought Aaron basically told Falco the truth about who he was, and they basically came with the plans like, "All right, well, we're gonna stop the war from the inside." And Falco probably told Aaron, "Hey, we should recruit Reiner too, because he's kind of like he has the same ideals as us, and that's the reason why he brought him to the basement." No, he literally just thought that Reiner and Aaron were old friends, and he was like, "Hey, your old friend Aaron wants to see you, so I'm gonna take you down to the basement, this creepy ass basement, where two of you could talk alone in the dark." And it literally took him half the chapter. It took him half the chapter to realize, hey, wait, Reiner has only been back on the island for 4 years. Didn't really have any friends before that when he was a kid. And the only people he would have had any other contact with between that time are the people of, oh, you're from Paradise Island. Oh fuck, I fucked up. But yeah, even though we're kind of expecting the two of them, Reiner and Eren, to basically talk and have some kind of conversation in this chapter, they really don't. Like I said, Reiner asks like one question, try to ask another one, Eren cuts him off. And then Eren basically just tells him to shut up and listen to the festival that's going on outside, because there's some important information that Reiner needs to hear. And basically, if you don't know, the festival's going on. Like the head of the Tiber family, I think William Tiber is his name, the guy who we all assume is the Hammerhead Time Shifter. It was revealed like what 2 3 chapters ago that he's basically the head. Like the Tiber family was basically the secret head of the Norwegian army, and he's like, "All right, well, listen, gather the entire military, gather all our people on our homeland, and gather all our allies. I have an announcement. We're gonna hold this festival. We're gonna have snacks. We're gonna play games, all this shit. Everyone's gonna have a great time. And then at the end, I'm gonna show a play, basically talk about the history of the Norwegian people, basically how you guys won back your freedom from the people of Ymir. My people basically helped you guys take over and everything, yada yada. Basically, the entire bullshit that we've been hearing since this arc started about like how the people of Ymir oppressed the people, the Norwegians, and they eventually fought back from one of the heroes and the betrayal of the Tiber family against the Emirs and yada yada, and they basically won back to the homeland. And at first, the play basically just goes over all the bullshit that we heard back during the flashback arc when we were looking at Aaron's dad's memories. But then something different happens. Like we go through that entire bullshit history, and then we find out that yeah, all that was wrong. Which, to be fair, like we all assumed that everything was false to begin with, but we also assumed that the Marlesians were kind of twisting things in order to be in their favor, in order to like justify their oppression of the people of Ymir. But no, they actually had no idea that any of that was false either. They actually believed all that shit. Like they actually thought that shit was legitimate. No, but it turns out that the Tiber family, King Fritz, the guy who created Paradise Island, and the supposed hero that the Tiber family worked with to basically to stop the wars, take down the other houses of the Time Shifters, and basically gain the Marlesians their independence and their freedom from being oppressed by the people of Ymir. Yeah, it turns out the three of them worked together to basically stop a huge war that was going on between all the main houses of the Time Shifters and the people of Ymir. Basically, they were all warring for control, and King Fritz was like, "Yeah, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of you guys fighting over bullshit." So, hey, Tiber family, you kind of have the same idea I do. We're gonna find some random guy. We're gonna hire him to be like the hero. We're gonna stop the war from the inside. We're basically gonna use my power and influence to kind of like basically gain the Marlesians to freedom by basically ruining all the other houses, and then I'm gonna fuck off. I'm gonna fuck off. I'm gonna take some people get mirror with me. I'm gonna fuck off and create this island over here, and we're just gonna live in peace. Like it's just gonna be peace. I'm gonna wall it off so my people don't come over here. Your people stay over here, and basically we're just gonna leave each other alone. Which of course, didn't happen because eventually the war started between the two islands. But yeah, we see in the chapter that literally no one knew about this. Not the Marlesians, not the people of Ymir, no one besides the Tiber family, and basically King Fritz's family, who obviously is Krista, and because Eren has the power, or Eren inherited his time powers, he had the memory too. So yeah, basically no one knew about this, and everyone was surprised. We see Gabby like just shocked to find out, and all this was true. Of course, we know the peace obviously didn't last because the two islands are actually at war with each other right now over the Titan abilities and basically Paradise Island's natural resources. Because the people of basically the Marlesians actually want the resources for themselves. But what's interesting is they don't. He doesn't reveal like when he reveals the real truth. He doesn't basically say, "Hey, we kind of started this war. They were living in peace. They didn't even know about us, and we kind of just attacked them. Like everything was going great. Like basically we ruined everything." No, he actually comes out in this chapter and basically says that a few years ago an uprising started. King versus family was basically defeated, and their time powers were basically stolen. And when he names the person behind all this, he names Eren, which basically just comes out and says that Eren is a terrorist basically, and he's basically the one who started the war and is ruining the peace. Now, we obviously know that's bullshit because before Eren even got the Titan abilities, before anything even happened, he didn't even try to steal the Titan abilities. They were basically forced upon him by his dad. The war was already starting. Like they had attacked, and that's what caused the war to begin with. So yeah, we obviously know it's bullshit. And at first I thought, okay, this guy's obviously just kind of like basically paint a target on Eren. He's basically just trying to like make Eren to make people of Paradise Island out to be the bad guys even more. Well, not even the people of Paradise Island, basically just Eren in general to be the bad guy. And basically say that we're fighting a holy war now. Like it's not just a war for resources. Now we're basically just fighting a war to basically save the people who just want the people of Paradise Island who wanted peace to begin with from this terrorist named Eren Yeager. Then I reread the chapter and I kind of thought about it and I was like, there's a little bit of parallels between what's going on now and this current war. Eren being here and basically being kind of a terrorist with his like little conversation between him and Reiner, and the fact that they're painting Eren out to be the bad guy. Now, I'm pretty sure other people thought of this too, but let's think about it for a second. We got King Fritz, the guy who basically everyone on the main Marlesian island blames for being like the terrorist, being like the bad guy for everything, and that's the reason why they're at war, is because he tried to oppress the Norwegians, and they weren't dealing with it. Now, when you look at that, Derek. But then I reread the chapter, and I saw the parallels. I literally saw the parallels between what happened in the original in original, or not the original, the actual true history of the Norwegian people and like the people Ymir and all that, and what's going on in the current day. And that is basically just like King Fritz, took the blame and basically became the enemy of everyone. We see basically Eren doing the same thing. He's basically taking the blame and becoming the enemy of everyone. He's here to basically just be the failsafe, kind of like I said, kind of like what happened with King Fritz. Is basically he. But then I reread that part of the chapter where they're going over the real history of what actually happened back in the war a few hundred years ago, and I realized that that whole story was basically just foreshadowing what's going on in current day, and that is that basically just like King Fritz, the Tiber family, and that fake hero that they hired to basically pretend to be the hero of the Norwegian people, just like they all worked together to basically stop the war that was going on back then between the houses of the time shifters. I think that Eren, the Tiber family, and possibly whatever fake hero, maybe Falco or Reiner that they built up, are actually working together to put all the blame on Eren, make him out to be the bad guy, and actually just like try to stop the war by painting a target on him and basically saying once this guy's dead, once we get rid of him, there's no reason for either Paris Island or the Marlesian Island to be at war with each other anymore, and they will just basically go back to being like basically just leaving each other alone, basically back to the peaceful lives that they were dealing with before the war started. Now, the reason why I say this is because obviously, like I said, there was a lot of parallels between them. I obviously think it's foreshadowing with the story that we heard about about the actual true history. But there's also the fact that they mentioned that they sent I think like 100 or so ships back to Paradise Island during the 4 year time skip after they defeated Reiner and took the armor time powers. And he says that all those ships disappeared. Now, basically, everyone in the crowd is kind of surprised by this, which, if the military sent those ships, they shouldn't really be surprised by this. They should actually know what's going on. They should know those ships disappeared, yada yada. Now, my thinking is the Tiber family basically covered it up. Basically, they covered it up, or maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe the military weren't surprised, and like it was just the normal people who were surprised at the fact that like 100 or so ships disappeared. But I still think the Tiber family covered it up, or like had some kind of dealings with Eren and the people at Paradise Island when it came to those ships disappearing, and that's how Eren actually got here back onto the island. That he Now, the reason why I think this is obviously because, like I said, I'm pretty sure that the whole history that we get revealed in this chapter is just foreshadowing what's going on in current day. But also the fact that we find out that 143 ships were sent to Paradise Island from the mainland, basically to investigate what's going on, basically to be spies, and they all kind of just disappeared. Now, that's a big number of ships for not even one ship to make it back and report what the fuck's going on. That's kind of a stretch to believe. I mean, it's not that unbelievable when you got two Titan shifters over there, especially since Armin has the Colossal Titan. But at the same time, it's like really not one ship made it back. So I think that actually one ship or so maybe actually did make it back, and the Tyra family basically covered it up. And the reason why they would cover it up is because Eren was the one on that ship, and basically the reason why they would cover it up with Eren being the one on the ship, and that's how he actually got to the main island, is because Eren has all the memories. He knows the fact that the like Tyra family and King Fritz covered up or like basically worked together to stop the war. So he would go back to them. It would make sense that he'd actually go back to them and try to like just basically redo what they did in the past. There's also the fact that someone's obviously hunting down all the Titan shifters that are working for the Norwegian army. As we saw in this chapter, two of the Titan shifters were actually taken out by someone who could possibly be Jean. The reason why I say this is because the Peak, I think her name is Pico or something like that, the cart Titan shifter, which by the way, I'm not sure how exactly that family ever was born for power at all. I mean, just look at that Titan right there, just basically just has a cart on his back. How the fuck was she ever going to do anything? But anyway, yeah, she basically recognizes the soldier that leads them away from the stage and leads them to a secret room. Now, when she recognizes the person, she immediately is like, hey, what the fuck's going on? Like, she doesn't say it out loud, but she kind of questions, like, hey, don't I know you from somewhere? And then after the guy kind of debuffs her and basically, calls her out on it, she meets up with, like, some people that she actually works with in the military, hugs them, and it's kind of implied that she gives one of the people a secret message saying, hey, don't trust this guy, like, some shady shit's going down. And then we see her and the other guy, I think it's a Jaw Titan who's with her. We see them get dropped down through this giant hole. Now, the reason why I think it could be a Jean that's like here that she recognizes is because obviously she was the one who went to the island with Zeke, basically the Beast Titan, and helped attack the people of Paris Island. So it's not that unbelievable that she would actually have seen Jean before, and so she would recognize him. But there's also the fact that since the Tiber family does control the military, they basically have their own private military force. It could be that she recognized this guy as actually a member of that private military. So it could be that the Tiber family was actually the ones taking out the time shifters that work for the Norwegian army, which would make a lot more sense. I mean, it's not that unbelievable that Jean and the other military people from Paris Island could infiltrate the island and could infiltrate the military and pretend to basically be the top brass in order to basically take down the other time shifters to give Eren that more advantage when he attacks. But with the Tyra family's help, since they basically control everything on the island, on the main homeland, basically that just makes it more believable. So yeah, that's basically all that happens in the chapter. Like I said, it's really interesting to find out the true history of what actually happened, and the fact that basically it's basically implying that, like I said, Eren and the Tiber family are working together to basically just redo what King Fritz and the Tiber family did all those years ago when in the original war to end this current one that they're in right now. So, like I said, if that's true, if this is actually happening, like the way I think it is, that'd actually be really interesting. I can't wait to see how it plays out. And if it's not, even still, they're basically making Eren out to be a terrorist in the chapter, basically making him out to seem like he's become the main villain of the series, which is even more interesting. How many series do we get that we actually see the main protagonist become the main villain without, it going on to be a sequel? This is crazy. Like, a whole bunch of new things are happening in this chapter alone. I wasn't feeling this arc in the beginning, and now just based on the chapter alone, it's become one of my favorite arcs in this entire series, and I cannot wait to see how it concludes. But yeah, and that's it for the review. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts. Get ready for Annie's return, and catch you guys later. Peace.